grasses and trees, and even hay, though I try to stay away. I certainly can't go on these hay rides and things that happen in the fall. Even so, they're windborne and it's really hard to avoid them. So, allergic reactions release chemicals from the body. And these chemicals, histamines, get into the bloodstream and they bind to special receptors in blood vessels. Uh, and they cause the allergic symptoms such as itching and flushing, headache, runny nose. And the histamine drugs are meant to block those histamines from getting in there and causing those things. So to do the most good, they need to be used before the reaction starts. Once the reaction has started, taking antihistamine can still be useful, but not as effective as you know a protective dose. So commonly, it's used for stuffy nose. You see them in over-the-counter drugs and all of those kinds of things. Uh, Weil says probably their most important use is the treatment of anaphylaxis, and that's a dangerous allergic reaction. People with severe allergies to foods or insects or drugs can develop a life-threatening reaction marked by a sudden drop in blood pressure, or your airway closes, and you develop breathing difficulties, and prompt treatment is necessary to prevent death. And potent drugs such as epinephrine, which is an adrenaline, and corticosteroids, and lots of hydration, and antihistamines given in large doses intravenously can also help arrest the reaction. So one reason to use them is supported by more by advertising and research. It can help with people who aren't sleeping. It's been put into over-the-counter drugs like Tylenol PM and so forth and so on. And it does cause drowsiness, but the sleep quality is not the same. And it's usually not very good. So the problems with the antihistamines. Hydromin, or chlorpheniramine, which is something that the product chlortrimeton has, or clemastine, which Tavist has. They cross blood-brain barriers, affecting the central nervous system. First-generation antihistamines cause significant sedation, so that's why you have that in the cloud feeling. And they can impair your driving ability as much or more than alcohol. Now, often when you're falling asleep on antihistamines, there's a drowsy period with mental fogginess and a decline in thought processes that you might not be aware of, but it's happening. So then they've changed to, find antihistamines that are less sedating, so that you don't feel that way. And there are a few of those, like Seldane, which was released in 1985. But it was found to have a connection to causing heart arrhythmias with people who took the drug. And it finally got removed from the market because it was connected to 8 deaths just from people who were trying to stop sneezing. And there are a bunch of other drugs like loratadine, chlorotidine. I can't pronounce it, but it's the stuff that's in Claritin and the stuff that's in Zyrtex, cetirizine. These medications cross the blood-brain barriers, and they still cause drowsiness. Uh, and so you'll see in the back of those bottles, you've probably seen it before, be careful while driving, do not operate heavy machinery, so forth and so on. But, a lot of people don't have a choice. If they have to get to work and they're feeling not well, they need to take one of those things and they need to drive. But it is a potential health hazard. So they can also cause or worsen depression and interfere with your concentration or thinking. They can interfere with your mood. That's fascinating. And they've been linked to risks of dementia, long-term taking of these things. Apparently there was a study on some of these drugs, and it was found that taking these medications for the equivalent of 3 or more years increased the risk of developing dementia by 54%. Some other effects of these things: low blood pressure, delirium, behavioral changes that we talked about, and urinary retention, especially people with prostate gland problems. And rarely, he says, this is Dr. Weil again, rarely, he says, it can lead to severe bladder or kidney dysfunction. And they're still doing investigations about the effects that antihistamines have, because we're not entirely sure how much or the degree to which they affect us in those ways. But there's evidence linking them to brain tumors. Interesting. So drug therapy for allergies, including over-the-counter medications, costs more than $6 billion a year. So, as he mentioned, there are approaches that you can use for managing allergies that don't involve relying on antihistamines. One thing you can do is to use a filter. Change your filters in your home. High efficient particle air filters, which you can find, I think, pretty much anywhere. You can use a neti pot. I've used that. It flushes allergenic particles from the tissue lining in your nose, and it looks like a lamp, like a LED lamp. And it's very easy to use. It took me a while to get used to it. But you put a saline solution into the neti pot, and then you stand over the sink with your head tilted, and you place the spout into the nostril and slowly pour the solution into your nose. Then once you're done, you just blow your nose, and you repeat with the other nostril. And he mentioned stinging nettle, which is, again, a natural herbal remedy. I've used it. I do find that it helps. I find that you have to just start taking it regularly in order to have an effect. It's not like if you are already having the symptoms. I found that it doesn't really relieve them, but it can prevent them once you start taking it. And there's some other recommendations here. Something called Butterbur, used to treat allergies and asthma and migraine headaches. It's another herbal, and it was tested with a drug. It's one of the few ones that ever have been, with a study of 132 people with hay fever, and they found that an extract of this herb was as effective as Zyrtec with fewer side effects. Butterbur was also much less sedating than the pharmaceutical product. The downside of that is that it required 4 to 5 doses of the herb daily. And that's one of the things that where people, have problems, not relying on these drugs, is that if you have to take herbal supplements 4 or 5, 6 times a day, it's hard in the course of a busy day to stop and turn around and do that. And much easier when you have these medications where you only have to take them like once a day or twice a day. So it does take a change in your lifestyle too. You know, mind-body interventions can also be used to modify allergic responses. There was a test apparently about allergic individuals watching a documentary, and another group that was watching a funny movie. And those who were watching the funny movie had decreased reactivity to the the allergen. So emotions, as we've been talking about, and again the body and its relaxation response, the emotions powerfully change the effect of allergen exposure. And as I say, that's that connection between emotions and the immune system, and the shutting down and or boosting of it. And he recommends things like clinical hypnotherapy, if you can afford to get that, which can reduce allergic responses. So antihistamines can be helpful, and they can absolutely save lives in the case of severe allergic reactions. But they can also cause a lot of side effects. And so people who have things like allergic rhinitis and common allergy symptoms, it would be wise not to rely on antihistamines, but to try natural remedies and lifestyle changes. Stress management, I can't stress I can't stress more about stress and its negative reactions and its negative effects. It all seems to come down to that in everything that I'm reading. And as I'm sharing these with you, I'm learning myself. But it seems to me that changing our minds is the healthiest thing we can do. And part of that is this perspective, this higher perspective that I talk about. Go on and talk about these things, the more important I find that this really is. Coming out of a personal place for me. So, care, and happy to hear from you, your perspective.